Welcome back everybody to more Madden 17 news. We have some more stuff to talk about today, and this is all presentation related. We're still waiting on connected franchise news. Hopefully we get that soon, but I've talked about a lot of news with the game already regarding the gameplay changes and many improvements they've made to defense that have me excited about Madden 17. And if you haven't checked those videos out yet, the link to the playlist is down below with all of my Madden 17 news videos. But let's get into today's topic, which is presentation. And yesterday it was also revealed with an article and a video that there is a new commentary team for Madden 17. So for the past few years we've gotten used to Phil Simms and Jim Nantz, and now it is the team of Brandon Gaudin and Charles Davis. Now I'm not as familiar with Brandon Gaudin, but what I've heard so far is good, and I am familiar with Charles Davis, and I listen to a lot of draft content in late winter, early spring, because I love following the draft, and so I get to hear Charles Davis talk a lot. I haven't heard him do as much analysis for game broadcasts, but that's out there, and I think he'll do a pretty good job. I'm excited to see how this team comes together, and what's very cool is that they talked about bringing these two guys into the studio even during the season to record additional commentary based on what's happening in the actual NFL season. Now, I don't play any of my Madden games with commentary turned on, just because it's easier for videos to not have that in the background. But I think that this team has a lot of promise, and I'm looking forward to see if it can fulfill the expectations now with the idea that they're going to be updating things and making the commentary better throughout the season. But I hope that they can stick to this team and continually improve the commentary and just iterate upon that and end up with really good stuff maybe in a few years. But hopefully it's also good this year. I'll listen to it initially and see what I think, but I'm not going to play with commentary on, but I know a lot of people do, so I wanted to talk about it here, and it also ties into presentation. And just the visual presentation is extremely important to me, given my franchise mode and me wanting to make that as authentic as possible. Whatever the game can give me, I use. Whether it's the post-play replays or the graphics that come on screen, I've wanted to see that continue to improve and become more authentic, just so it adds to the experience of my franchise. So they've done a lot with presentation recently, and it looks like they've iterated upon that. And now I'm going to be actually following through the article here with the presentation improvements. So up top here we got the Vikings' new stadium. Cannot wait to see them play in it this year, but it is obviously in Madden 16 if you haven't seen it in action yet. This next screenshot showcases the Houston Texans defensive line, and this is very cool. I want to see more stuff like this before the games, and hopefully it's varied and focuses on the key areas of various teams. And especially when we get a couple years into a franchise of mine, it's cool to see the opposing team and what they now have constructed through the draft and free agency. So in the article it says that they have updated stadiums and jumbotrons from across the league, adding another layer to the look and authenticity of each venue. Broadcast and presentation is all about getting you closer to the action, and with our new lineups introduction, you will see even more swagger and personality than ever before in Madden 17. So all we've really gotten in the past is just the headshots on screen with the names, and I use that, but something like this they have here with the Houston Texans, this is very cool, and if this is their typical lineup, introduction, I'm very interested in that. Last year we talked a lot about cameras, I do remember that. And there is a bit more camera talk here. We have the pylon cam. That became popular last year. You heard it mentioned about 12 times a broadcast at least. And you can tell this camera is from the back pylon, as you can kind of see in the corners there, that there's that orange. So it just gets you a little bit closer to the field. And it's a great way to see plays that happen in or around the end zone. We saw it last year quite a bit, and I think everybody likes the pylon cam. However, it's kind of weird how long it took for the pylon cam to become a thing. It seems like something that should have been out at least 5 years ago. In the next section it says that there are new cameras as well as speed ramping into the shots we capture on field. So basically, I'm guessing that's showing a play in full speed and then slowing it down when it's at a big catch. You want to slow it down, watching the receiver elevate and go make the great catch. That'll be a cool way to capture just those moments. And I would like to see those post-play replays get a little bit better, because then I could use more of them. Most of the replay shots I use in my franchise are just from the instant replay and stuff that I record in there. They have also extended the graphics package into replays, highlighting the playmakers delivering the game's biggest moments. Next, they have something called Multicam, and in here it says, starting with the conclusion of the play, our cameras will focus in on the ball carrier and now have the ability to retarget additional on-field players or even your coach all in one cut. I think in 16, the camera cuts too soon after the play. You might see the ball carrier for a second or two and then it quickly cuts to like a replay or something. I would like to see more of the players just after the play is over and see those who were involved with it or the coach's reaction. And there's a lot about coach's reaction here as we continue. But obviously it's something that we're not going to know a lot about until we see raw gameplay. In the final section of the article, it says that one of their goals was to bring to life the coaches even more than they already are. This year, head coaches will be more dynamic and aware of the action on the field. They have increased fidelity to the head coaches on the sideline to allow them to have more of a visual and contextual impact during play and in replays. Much like Multicam, coaches will now be part of the environment on each play and will be reacting to situations based on the outcome of each play. You will see coaches run down the sidelines and come to life with more animation than they have in previous games. And where you'll really see this come to life is in franchise mode, playing as a coach. And the final quote, we've centered much of the post-play camera presentation around your coach's reaction to big plays, big stops, and all other action on the field. So that is the article and information for today. And it's a lot of stuff that's easier to see than read. But I do like some of the ideas here, and I hope that after the play there is more to look at and you're not just quickly cutting to replays all the time. Sometimes, obviously, you want replays for the big plays and just to see how things happen, but I do want to see more just after the play. And the coaches in franchise mode, that should be interesting because I typically do make coaches. You get to see them on the field, and apparently the reactions are going to be a lot more noticeable, so you're going to get to see the coach a lot more in franchise, it sounds like. And speaking of franchise, hopefully there's more to talk about soon. I mean, they're running out of things to talk about. Eventually, connected franchise has to be the topic of discussion. But because this video has been so short, I want to talk about one more thing from an article I posted last month about the competitive focus of Madden 17. So for those of you that play online, whether it be MUT or Draft Champions, this stuff is pretty relevant. And if you care about this information, this article is also linked down below. So one of the biggest improvements, it looks like, according to this article, is man coverage in Madden 17. Now, man coverage was a big improvement last year, and defensive backs have a tendency to stick to receivers once they initially are able to minimize separation. So what's been improved upon, as this says in the second paragraph, that there's an enhanced win-loss system to ensure that any route with a cut has the potential to get open against this coverage. Man press is a two-part battle, and it all starts with the chuck. Using a slant as an example, when the receiver wins, he'll successfully fight off the corner to gain inside leverage. Just like previous years, this part of the interaction is dictated by press and release ratings. The second portion of this change is the cut move. In the case of a slant, if the receiver wins here, he'll get enough separation when he cuts toward the middle of the field for the quarterback to complete the throw. How often the receiver wins the cut is still based off of route running ability versus the corner's man coverage. Keep in mind that a receiver who loses the chuck can still win on the cut and vice versa. Also, just as you can use any route with a cut to beat man now, routes that seem to get open more often before can easily get locked down. So that's the main information from that section. I didn't expect to hear much about man coverage, but this stuff here is good. Man coverage was greatly improved last year, but there were cases where it was a little bit too strong, and then there were situations where your receiver just didn't have a chance to get open. So this should be a little bit more authentic this year, and I just want to see both man and zone be strong, because both are viable when the team can play that scheme. And I hope we also see the motion routes and the drag routes be a little bit more easy to cover. The drag routes especially need to have quicker reaction from the defensive backs. This next section talks about zone coverage, but I'm not going to go word for word into this one. I've already talked about the new zone coverage techniques, and definitely check that video out if you haven't. I go into all 10 of the techniques, and basically this section just says that there are various popular plays from Madden 16, and now you have great counters just simply having a corner play a flat route a certain way, whether he's prioritizing what's in front of him or what's behind him. Using those different zone concepts and a little bit of customization as you learn the techniques, you're going to be able to shut down various popular plays. And that's what I'm looking for next year, to hopefully see different play styles really emerge on offense. Because for the most part, when I play online, I kind of feel like I'm playing the same person every time in 16. Another cool change here in 17, as we stick with the defensive side, is the ability to stop the quarterback scramble more effectively with the spy crash feature. This is now updated to also include any players in coverage. By clicking R3, you can send your closest defender rushing after the quarterback. There's an added strategy here, as you might be leaving part of the field or a receiver wide open when your guy bails. The coverage crash also ties in well with the improved defensive line logic. Defensive ends who see a quarterback getting outside the tackles are more adept than ever in Madden NFL 17 of shedding the block and chasing him down. Not having to put contains or a spy on the field every down you play a mobile quarterback is a relief and allows players to focus more on their coverage adjustments. This is going to be very helpful, and what I picture is kind of down in the red zone when you're taking off with your quarterback and you still have a guy sitting there in coverage, kind of just watching the quarterback make his way to the end zone. This will be a nice way to counter that. This next section talks about the quarter formation that has been recreated to be more authentic in terms of how they defend the run. The biggest issue here was the defensive backs that would unrealistically shoot in to blow up run plays. By making them more realistically able to read run versus pass first, and improving open field blocking for the offensive line, this is the last defense you want to be caught in against the run. This is not the case if your opponent is in a pass-heavy formation. When tuning these defenses, we made sure to apply it to man coverage defenses as well, where only one or two defensive linemen would be rushing. All of these changes resulted in stopping the run being grounded more in real-life concepts, even at the highest levels of Madden. So, this has been mentioned before that quarters defenses have been popular for stopping the run. I haven't really encountered this online, but I don't play a lot, and I don't play competitively against the best players online. So, I'm just happy that if this was a viable tactic, that it is no longer. So that is it for the defensive part of this article, but there were a lot of good things in it. Now on offense. And in here it says that every hardcore player can agree that double juke was the most effective move in Madden 16. It got to the point where players on defense would anticipate someone doing it when pursuing in the open field, which made just running straight forward an actual decent strategy. While it was cool to see some of the breakaway runs that resulted from it in the Madden Challenge, head-to-head is more engaging when there's a variety of fakes that are all effective depending on how skilled a player is with them. That's exactly what the new ball carrier moves bring to the table in Madden NFL 17. Like the new zones, even the veteran guys are smart to take their time learning these. Mastering which angles to do which moves and with which player is going to pay dividends for anyone who puts the time in. I did talk about the ball carrier special moves a while ago in one of my first Madden 17 news videos, so for more information on that video is also in the playlist. Next up, when you're sifting through offensive playbooks to find one that will help elevate your game to the next level, the quick audibles for a given book can be a deal breaker. This is especially true in modes like Draft Champions and Madden Ultimate Team. Knowing this, we tweaked the default audibles across the entire game this year. One thing players will notice here is that run-heavy sets now have two run audibles, one that attacks the inside and another that pushes the ball outside. Every year on offense, the pass blocking logic gets upgraded. This year is certainly no exception. Turbo blitzes as well as looping blitzes have been addressed. The line is also better at handling the max coverage defenses we went over earlier. Finally, we've made improvements to online play that should result in users encountering less lag. These changes also include preventing players from attempting to boot opponents out of game sessions and forcing a loss. So that is the information within this article, and that is it for the Madden 17 news today. It sounds like there should be a lot of cool things to notice on defense when we get to see actual gameplay, and they have been posting some short clips on their Twitter every now and then. but once we can finally see like a full game or a full quarter or even a full drive, that's when we can start to look at whether these zone coverages and everything else is really living up to expectations, because I'm excited for this year's Madden, and I've loved that they've been talking about all this gameplay stuff with defense and just the zone schemes and techniques. This is what I wanted them to talk about in terms of gameplay, and now I'm just waiting for some good news with franchise mode. But until then, guys, thank you for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe, and check out the playlist for more Madden 17 news videos. I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Or night.